If you're a returning NRI with money still in the US, there's a tax your family could get hit with after you're gone, and it can take 40 cents of every dollar. That's $376,000 on $1 million portfolio. It's called US estate tax, and most returning NRIs don't realize they're exposed until it's too late. Here's exactly what it is, who it hits, and what to check before you move. This is education, not financial advice, so let's get into it. Start with the shock. If you're a US citizen, the government lets you pass on a huge amount, tax free $15 million dollars in 2026. But the moment you're no longer a US citizen or green card holder and you're living in India, that protection almost vanishes. Your exemption drops to just $60,000, and that $60,000 number, it has never been adjusted for inflation. Here's what that means in real money. Imagine your estate includes $1 million in US stocks. If you were a US citizen, your family would owe nothing. But as a non resident, they could face a US estate tax bill of around $376,000, same assets, completely different outcome, just because of your status. So, what actually counts? This is the most important part. The US taxes what it calls US-situs assets. Assets it considers located in America, and the list catches more than people expect. On the exposed list, US stocks, US domiciled funds, and ETFs, like the ones tracking the S&P 500, US real estate, and yes, your 401k and your IRA. All of it counts toward that $60,000 threshold. But here's the good news, not everything is exposed. Your Indian assets are completely safe. Your NRE and NRO accounts, Indian mutual funds, Indian real estate, none of that is touched by US estate tax. And India itself has no estate or inheritance tax at all. So your Indian wealth passes to your family cleanly from both sides. Homeward Guide breaks down the big confusing money decisions every returning NRI has to make, so you don't have to figure it out alone. If that's the kind of companion you want on your move back, hit subscribe. Alright, now there's a detail that trips almost everyone up. Now, a detail that trips almost everyone up. This isn't about your visa or your green card or your passport. US estate tax is based on something called domicile, essentially, where you truly make your permanent home. You can hand back your green card and still have your US assets fully exposed. It's the location of the assets and your domicile that decide this, not the color of your passport. And this brings us to the treaty problem, the heart of why this matters so much for India. The US has special estate tax treaties with just 15 countries. If you're from the UK, Germany, Japan, or Australia, a treaty steps in and dramatically reduces or removes this exposure. Their citizens can often claim the full US exemption. India is not on that list. There is no US India estate tax treaty. So returning NRIs get no treaty relief, none of the protection that citizens of those 15 countries enjoy. You're exposed to the full rules. This single fact is why estate tax deserves a place on every returning NRI's radar. So, what do you actually do about it? You can't change the rules, but you can plan around them. Here's your pre move checklist. 1. Know your number. Add up your US-situs assets, your stocks, your funds, your 401k, any US property. If it's well over $60,000, this applies to you. 2. Understand the timing. There's a window around when you change your domicile from the US to India. What you do with your US assets during that window can matter a great deal, which is exactly why professional timing advice pays off. 3. Know that the wrapper matters. Here's a concrete example. A fund that tracks the S&P 500 but is domiciled in the US is exposed. The very same market exposure held through a fund domiciled outside the US For instance, an Irish domiciled fund is generally not a US-situs asset. Same index, different wrapper, very different estate tax treatment. This is a real lever. But the timing and tax rules around switching are genuinely complex. So it's a conversation for a cross border advisor, not a do it yourself move. 4. Consider protection for your family. Some families use life insurance so that there's money set aside to cover the estate tax bill without forcing a sale of assets when the time comes. Again, a concept to explore with a professional based on your situation. And 5, get the right help. This is genuinely complex cross border territory. A qualified cross border estate advisor can look at your specific mix of assets and timeline, and the cost of that advice is tiny compared to a potential $300,000 surprise. So let's bring it together. If you're a returning NRI with US assets, here's what to remember. The US estate tax exemption for you is $60,000, not the 15 million a citizen gets. Your US stocks, funds, and your 401k all count toward it. But your Indian assets are safe, and India has no estate or inheritance tax of its own. There's no US India treaty, so there's no automatic relief. And the biggest danger is simply not knowing this exists, because by the time it matters, it's your family who has to deal with it. The good news, with awareness and the right planning, this is completely manageable. If this helped, you've got the awareness that most returning NRIs don't. And if you haven't seen it yet, my last video breaks down exactly what to do with your 401k when you move back to India. So subscribe to Homeward Guide, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, this is education, not financial advice. For your specific situation, talk to a qualified cross-border tax professional. Thanks for watching.